Congressman Speier, your leadership role in the House Democratic Women's Caucus gives you a particularly important perspective on these issues. What do you think awaits the Democratic vice presidential nominee, and what do you think social media platforms should be doing?
Thank you, Rebecca. I want to associate myself with the comments by Senator Baldwin and also compliment you at GW and the Institute for Data, Democracy, and Politics for really highlighting this issue. You know, as women in politics, we sort of take these slings and arrows as just part of life. But what we probably haven't spent any time reflecting on is how it permeates everything and how it deters a lot of women from engaging in the process. Ironically, I have headquartered in my district both Facebook and YouTube. So I fully am aware of all the employees that are constituents of mine that these two companies employ, but I'm also very concerned about, certainly as it relates to Facebook, their unwillingness to step forward and be more proactive. I really believe that these platforms have become safe environments for hatred, safe environments for violence, where you can act with impunity. And we have got to be much more responsible in dealing with them. I actually avoid reading my comments on Facebook and Twitter. It serves me no purpose, but I ask my staff to just call a few of the comments that are made from time to time. And here are a few of them. I wish she was finished off at Jonestown. She has a red dot on her forehead, and so does her family. Others have called me a postmenopausal, I won't say the word, but it starts with a C. Or more recently, stop acting like their mother when I criticized Congressman Ted Yoho for his outrageous comments to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. I've been bombarded with images of myself that have bruises, black eyes, particularly when I was dealing with the issue of Marines United, where many Marines were taking pictures illegally of fellow female Marines and posting them on a special Facebook page that you needed a special password to get to. And you can imagine what that was doing to morale. Probably the worst thing that ever happened to me was when I was in the California State Legislature, and I carried a lot of legislation on child support enforcement. And at one point, it got so bad, the threats got so bad, that I was put in protective custody. At the time, I had a 6-year-old son and a toddler, and had to wear a bulletproof vest, but I couldn't even live in my own home for a period of a week. So those are the kinds of things that probably deter women from getting involved in politics. And you combine that or have it compounded by the President of the United States, who freely talks in disparaging terms about women, calling them pigs and dogs. And it makes it acceptable, and it's not acceptable. So as I think of our female candidates, one of whom will become our vice presidential nominee, we really have a very serious obligation to protect her and make sure that we have her flank. I want to commend Lucina DeMecco, who did the study and wrote the report, hashtag she persisted, when she interviewed 88 women leaders and in 30 countries, and was able to focus on their experiences. And there really is psychological violence that goes on the internet that is unabated. So we are joining Senator Baldwin, Speaker Pelosi, and many other women members of Congress are joining together to send a letter to Facebook, really demanding that they create a safe environment for women to engage in the democratic discourse in our country. And it has to be done, because this is only going to be a means of promoting violence unless Facebook and other social platforms take this seriously and address it.
We have a question that's come in from Ashley Gold at Axios. You mentioned in your opening remarks this letter that you've prepared to Mark Zuckerberg, and that a number of women legislators from the US and beyond have signed. Could you tell us a bit more about whether you'll be collecting additional signatures because there's been so much interest in this, and what you do to plan to follow up on the letter once you've released it?
So the letter will be released later today. We will put it online around noon. We will continue to invite more signatories to the letter from around the world and forward them to Facebook. Our goal is to have a meeting with the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, and COO, Sheryl Sandberg, to discuss this in greater detail and to ask them to implement the requests that we made in the letter. Sheryl Sandberg in particular is a well-known feminist. She has got to appreciate the power that Facebook has in terms of being the purveyor of misogynistic comments. I'm sure she's been the recipient of them herself. So I'm hopeful that she in particular will take this on as a campaign within Facebook.